Hey guys, we're back again. Welcome to the podcast, Alia and Co, where we talk about some complex things and we actually simplify them and make them easy. Today, we have a really interesting topic. I would say that most people can relate to this if you've ever been judged in your life. So today's topic is judgment. There are many opportunities for a person to be judged in their life. I mean, come on, if you've ever had like a diet that you've been on and maybe then went to a buffet with a bunch of your friends and maybe overfilled your plate a little bit, and they're like, oh, I thought you were on diet. And you're like, I'm just trying to be myself. I'm trying to eat, Judgment is there. I would say that there are many opportunities also outside of that where it's like, okay, maybe when you were a kid, you were public speaking and you had to be up in front of the class and you felt like everybody was looking at you. I mean, your mouth went dry and then you're holding like the flashcards and it's just like this like very kind of stressful opportunity. But even more than that, we get judged for a lot more serious things like maybe you don't have kids. Maybe you're not in a relationship. You went to a family function. Maybe you're not happy with where you are in your career. Maybe you're not making enough, at least where you feel financially secure. And so I would say today we have some really interesting guests, and they are in the face of judgment all the time simply because it is actually their profession. They're models. And so I want to welcome these two beautiful ladies, Ruth and Heidi. Heidi and Ruth. I know you guys. All right, but I want to have you introduce yourself. So Heidi, please introduce yourself.
So I'm Heidi. I'm originally from Chicago, born and raised. I've been a model for over 20 years. I'm also an event director for an exotic car rally called Corsa Rally. And I'm also a luxury travel advisor.
Amazing.
Yep.
I'm Ruth Diaz. I'm concierge services for Gold Coast Private Club. Been modeling as well, but just more like part-time at this point and doing a lot of event planning and just managing a lot of stuff behind the scene for the club in general.
Okay. And this is which club?
Gold Coast Private Club.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm actually quite looking forward to this conversation because it is one where you feel as though it's not something that you can actually talk about without being hated. The thing is, though, is that this is your profession and judgment is something that is totally in your face all the time. I mean, that's the very nature of it. I would ask you, and this is just because we're now just going with this, because I feel like let's just dive into it. Do people treat you differently because of the, perception of like, let's link it. There, you have to be attractive to, in some format, to be a model. I mean, that's just kind of the way that people see the industry. Outside of that work scenario, do you find that people treat you differently?
I would say off the bat, people treat you differently. I think a lot of people just have the stereotype that models are just, they're pretty, but they're dumb. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if you would agree with that or not, but I honestly just tell a lot of people all the time when I feel like I am being judged, like, my looks might get me in the room, but my mind and my attitude and everything keep me in that room, because it's important to be not only beautiful, but you have to be personable. You have to have a good heart. You have to hold a conversation. There's more to things than just your looks that keep you in that room.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Ruth?
Yeah, I think I agree with that. The looks will get you through casting, but then at the end of the day, when you are doing the job, they hire you for your personality. For modeling, I think it's kind of shifting because they want that strong personality that will also represent the brand, that almost like a brand ambassador or like a salesperson indirectly. So for like a bridal show, I can think of like the last show that I did. They hired me, yes, because I fit the dresses, but also because I can talk to the customers. And at the end of the day, they want to sell dresses. That's what they want to do.
Interesting. So that's kind of interesting because I'm hearing this also for the first time. So I feel like a lot of people are super interested in understanding what the behind the scenes of that looks like. Definitely sales, right? So if you're representing a brand, there is definitely a sales aspect to that. But how about also workability? Working with people in the industry, do you feel like you can compare it to like a desk job? Are they the same measures of like working with people?
No.
Tell me about that.
I think I have done the desk job and I have done the modeling. I will say modeling is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Okay. It's so tiring the body, you first have to have a perfect diet. If you do a bridal show, you have to be standing for 10 hours straight in high heels. I mean, imagine you in the office with high heels sitting in the office. That's kind of uncomfortable. Usually we wear sneakers.
Right.
Try that for 10 hours standing with the perfect dress, perfect hair, perfect makeup, and you have to be smiling all the time. It's very tiring.
Yeah, honestly, there's been days where I've had probably some of the worst days of my life. I would get a phone call of terrible news and I would be working. Imagine you're getting paid to literally be there, be positive, have a smile on your face, and imagine you're getting a very devastating call. You have to be on point. You have to act like you never got that phone call. I can't tell you how many times that has happened to me. And, you know, girls I was working with had absolutely no idea until I got back to my room, and then I would just get upset. And they said, wow, I had no idea you were going through that. Yeah, because I'm a professional.
Yeah. Well, how do you suck it in? Like, you know, how, because I would say that it's a massive challenge to be able to have control over your emotions because your body feels that too. So essentially, it's, I mean, and I can see that though, because like it sounds like there's like a lot of physical duress that is put on your body. So you are probably very in tune to understanding how your body, your muscles work. I mean, do you find that maybe that's kind of like a parallel, also being able to control the emotions, understanding and being able to kind of have control over your facial expressions? And, you know, is that something that is accurate or?
I would say so. And honestly, too, I think at the end of the day, I feel like I've always been very strong mentally and emotionally. So I can compartmentalize that. I can do that very well. So if I just say, okay, right now, this is what I'm doing. This is what I need to focus on. And I put that feeling and that stuff away. And then later on, once I'm done with this, then I can focus on that.
Yeah, that's a big skill. And I would say that in a lot of different professions where you are dealing with people, you know, it definitely comes with experience, but that's really impressive, you know? So talk to me about, you know, kind of the whole essence of judgment, right? At work, do you find that you may experience judgment from coworkers or even individuals that are in the industry that you're having to work with?
So when you're standing as a model, everybody that walks through is judging you because first of all, you're supposed to look like a model. So if you're not looking like a model that day or your hair is not on point, you're self-conscious all the time because you know that everybody walks through is looking at you and they're judging everything. Because that's what you're getting paid for.
Yeah. So
basically, yes, you are the attention and.
If I had $1 for every time like a man would walk by and they'd be like, have a smile, have a smile. I'm like, do you realize for like 9 hours, like I can't go like this the whole time. That would like hurt, you know? So yeah, if I had $1 for every time somebody's
smiling gives you wrinkles. Oh
my gosh. Does your face hurt by the end of the day? Do you feel like you know, because if you have a certain smile, facial expression, you know, I mean, like if I've done whatever photo shoot in my lifetime, you know, you're exhausted by then, you know. So is that something that it hurts to have certain facial expressions if you've done it for a prolonged period of time?
I've worked for brands that, you know, it was live TV and they would say, I remember once it was an hour and a half. I had to smile straight with my teeth the whole time. And yeah, it was shaking. It was throbbing and they were very strict. I don't want to say the brand, but they were very strict about it. They said, if we catch you not doing it, you are in trouble. And, you know, you just had to stand same pose, kept looking straight and just nonstop smile.
How do you do that?
You just had to do it. That's your job.
I passed out one time.
Oh, no.
I did not have breakfast.
Oh, my gosh.
It was actually a car race, and they were doing a live television, and we needed to represent the brand. So girls were standing in the back representing the brand. And I just passed out on television. I don't know why. I guess didn't have breakfast that day.
Oh my god!
I woke up with so much energy for some reason.
Passed out. Oh my god!
The best reset, but yeah, it's standing for long hours.
I've passed out too.
Oh my god!
But the thing with me is I start telling people because obviously I know my body. I start telling people, listen, getting a little lightheaded. I need some electrolytes. Give me some Gatorade, something. And honestly, I put it on them, like, please help me, you know,
Yeah.
and I give a warning. And there's been, I think, 3 times that they never got me a Gatorade and anything, and
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
done.
Wow.
Common. People just
Or they just think you're a model.
Yeah.
We're not going to feed her. We're
Oh
not
my
going to give her water.
It's like you're used to it. I was like, oh my gosh, that is such a wow.
I'll bring snacks always.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Is that's okay? That's eye opening for me. I mean, wow. So, like now with these individuals like that, okay. So yes, everyone that's walking through the door judging you, there's that aspect of okay, this is what you're hired for.
Yeah.
But then there's also kind of like your interpersonal communications, right, with a photographer or videographer or whatever, somebody that might be management or whatnot. Is there a specific kind of rapport that you need to have with these individuals? Is there something that like there's an expectation, like, do they want you to just take direction? Is there a certain personality outside of selling the brand that they look for?
So my experience with photographers, videographers, or just the owners of different brands is like they kind of want to manage you and tell you what to do. That's just normal.
Mhm.
It's tough when they taking your pictures, they do new videos, and you don't have control of whatever is gonna end there.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's a little bit of a.
Yeah,
I much rather produce myself and edit everything, and so I can see how it looks.
right.
But
Yeah.
you have to trust them. That's all, and that's just basically the job. Yeah.
Interesting. So, I mean, do you think that so for anybody that is experiencing judgment on a larger scale, whether it like be the things that I mentioned, do you feel like maybe because you guys are so in the kind of like you're the front runners, you're the people that are experiencing it the most for not anything that you like it's optics, right? Optics and taking direction and being the visual representation of what so I would say that to a degree that you're even controlling your muscles, like you're so in tune with your body. Do you find that there maybe might be some advice about like we were talking about having thick skin, is this something that you get used to and you just know that okay this and perhaps maybe is there any advice that you might be able to from this perspective put it out there for any kind of judgment?
Yeah, for sure. I think, I get a lot of people messaging me all the time that they want their kids to be a model or get involved in that or acting in those kind of industries. And honestly, sometimes I cringe because, that kid or that person might not have that thick skin because you have to be used to rejection. And I look at it that it's okay to get rejected. It's okay because it depends on your mindset and your attitude towards rejection, right? Like some people can take it in a very good way. Some people can take it in a terrible way and it just, really puts them down a dark path. I always tell people that, rejection is a redirection, right? You have to take that and look at it like, okay, there is a reason why I did not get this. I have to trust it. And this is not meant for me. No matter how many doors close on you, there will be doors that open. And just trust that rejection that was not meant for you. And that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. Actually, that's a really very mature and like in terms of professionally way to look at that. Like, do you have any input? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Like the invention of the light bulb, how many takes did it take?
Yeah, right.
So it's like not different than that. So we go to castings and the rejection is a little bit more brutal than in the normal industry because they will stand in front of the designer and the designer will say yes, no, and that's it. You never know why.
Talk about the first time because I feel like there must be an evolution. Talk about like, and I'd love for you guys I would love to hear it and how the evolution of the way that you got this thick skin in the industry. Like the first time, I'm sure you crushed, right? Where it's like, what? I can't help myself. Like this is what I look like.
It's me.
Yeah, exactly. It is. What does that evolution look like?
Well, for me, it's just I think that if they reject me, it's not because of me. It's because of something that they're looking for specifically. It could be the hair color. It could be the height, or maybe they need somebody with different measurements or different nationality or a different look. So I try not to take it personal, otherwise it will be bad. But I just think that, it just wasn't for me.
So my mom and dad actually taught me, the acceptance of rejection at a very early age. The first time that I experienced, that it could be a possibility for me, my mom actually entered, I don't even know if it was my mom or not, but I was entered in a beauty pageant when I was 12. And there was so many different age categories, so many girls. And she planted it in my head, like, we're going to do this. We're going to have a good time. You might not win, but we're doing this for the experience. So I learned around the age of 12, going into a career, doing something that, hey, you might not win this, but just go and have a good time and have a positive attitude, So at 12, I learned.
I love that. And that's the thing is that I'm sure that, especially like you were mentioning, that people will message and say, "Oh, give us advice for the," It's like, do you think that a lot of people go into this field not being prepared or for the wrong reasons?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
How
For
so?
sure. I think, oh my gosh, I think there's a lot of things. They think, that they'll make it and that, their look is everything a client wants, but they're not used to that rejection in their personal life. And I think they're not used to it sometimes in their career that they can get rejected, or they think that they're going to meet all these people. And it depends, honestly, I think, on it. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think girls come in with the idea that they're gonna make it and they're gonna make a bunch of money. I mean, modeling is really tough in Chicago in the Midwest. Like New York is a different story. Miami is a different story. If you
Chicago's
travel,
seasonal.
Yeah.
it's very seasonal.
So you have to travel.
You definitely have to travel to make it as a model. If you're gonna be, so a lot of models think that they can just be local models and make a living, and that's a little bit tough. And then they ended up, I say like every job they have a starting point, like a money, but modeling you start with zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they ended up doing a lot of like, headshots for the portfolio or like runway shows that are not really real runway shows, but they have to do, and they don't get paid.
I think it's equivalent to any career, though, or
Yeah.
any job. Like, for instance, like you have to build a portfolio, you have to build a resume.
Right.
If you want to be a doctor, what do? You go to school, you learn this, and you get to that point. It doesn't happen overnight. But I think that's every industry. And I think it's important that if you do want to be a model or anything, you need to realize this is not going to happen overnight. You are going to get rejected at certain points, and that's fine. It doesn't mean you won't get there, but there will be people who will start doing it and realize it's not for them. And that's okay. You can do a different direction. Again, rejection is redirection.
Right. Oh, look, I love.
Yeah, it's all your mindset and your
definitely.
attitude, so.
Sure. Yeah, no, 100%. And so that's just, I feel like, at least for me, and I have tons more questions, but I definitely want to move on to a little bit more of a nuanced sort of topic, especially with like regards to this. You have, your work environment, and specifically, you're hired because of the optics of the situation. Now you leave the work environment. Do you think sometimes, and you both are successful, and you're in like all of these different spaces, and well known and doing well, and I think that people look up to you as like a someone who is someone who's spearheaded like kind of like this trajectory in your career. When you're outside, do you think that sometimes maybe somebody might look at you and say, "Hey, the only reason that you have it so easy is because of the way you look"?
I laugh when people say that. I mean, I do, because for me, it's yes, okay. Your looks can get you in the room. Absolutely. Nobody will disagree with that. However, it is your attitude. It's how you approach yourself and everybody else in the room. It's how you hold a conversation. It's how you treat people, because you can get into rooms. However, you can get kicked out of that room very fast. So you also have to be a great person. It's not just your looks that matter.
Well, define what a great person is in that situation, in like professionally.
I just think you have to be on time. You have to be punctual. You just have to have a good heart. You have to hold a conversation, just compassionate, everything. It's just, you just have to be a package, I feel like, to stay in rooms you're meant for.
And I think that, not just, in modeling, I think just in life, it's like, I think that certain people think that, oh, I need to only be this, or I'm only known for this, because people might think of like, look at people and think it's like very black and white. Oh, you're just pretty, oh, you're just a nerd. Oh, you're just making money. You're super successful. But in order to really elevate yourself, like you really, especially as women, I think that aiming to be elevated in all spaces is really important. And I think that that's where true success actually really comes from. I mean, Ruth, what do you think? Do you think that like what is the environment when and do people look at you
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, you just this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, yes, they have to be all the qualities that you mentioned, but also you have to be very strong, because if we are so nice, then everybody's going to want us, they're not going to want to pay us what we
Yeah.
deserve. They always want us.
Yeah.
So we kind of have to represent that if we don't have a great manager or an agency. And sometimes the agencies want to pay you less than you deserve too. So there's a lot of fighting back and forth. So you have to be strong, know your values, know what you're worth, and if they don't want it, they can go with somewhere else. That's fine. You just have to be very loyal to yourself. And it's like a balance. You want to be nice but not too nice. So it's kind of like a balance, and just like don't be afraid to ask what you deserve.
Yeah. I think that specifically with what you mentioned is like being nice but not too nice. Sometimes people look at, especially with women, the nicer you are, they look at it as weakness. Do you find that perhaps maybe there's a lesson that you learned kind of just through your career, but then also outside life? I mean, we're around other women, we're around men, I think that people, even if you in any capacity, whether you are any woman staying at home as a mom, you're working professionally, there's some toxicity between friendships. There is a lot of toxicity even with the opposite sex, professionally, non-professionally. I think that, people definitely, there's jealousy, whether somebody's so successful, there's jealousy, whether somebody looks a certain way, there's jealousy, whether somebody got fit, there's like certain kinds of jealousy. Do you find that like, niceness is a way to handle people that kind of come in and act a certain way towards somebody, or
yeah, you have to kill them with kindness, because at the end of the day, you have to know human nature. So people want you to do well, but they don't want you to do better than them, period. So yes, not everybody's gonna like you, but there's a phrase that says, but when you look at yourself in the mirror, you better love what you see, because people are not going to love you, period. They're not going to. So if that's, once you accept that and you just like try to work on yourself, then eventually people get over it, and then they start loving you because you love yourself so much. They're like, okay, fine, now I accept her, But if you're gonna try to like be nice to everybody and everybody, oh, please accept me, please, you're gonna lose yourself.
Do you think there's like a certain lack of a kind of acceptance that you experience? Like, I mean, because I think that like and I'm sure we've all been to middle school, like there's the bullying and and so in terms of like, say, being an attractive woman, do you think that there is a certain lack of kind of empathy that people have for just because they look at you and they're like, oh, she's pretty, she probably has everything, do you experience that with people that are outside of your workspace?
I don't pay attention to it. I focus on my work. I focus on bettering myself. Yes, I make a lot of mistakes. I'm not perfect. And as long as I'm loyal to my goals are in work, and that's the only way, because I kind of go to the world and I accept that everybody's going to be judging, period. So great, you don't like me, let's move on. You know what I mean? I just have to, with that attitude, and if they like me, that's a plus, right?
Yeah,
That's a great thing.
Yeah, it is. No,
But if you're gonna go into the room saying like everybody's gonna love me, this and that, then you ended up crying that day, because you're gonna realize that there's different personalities and everything. At the end of the day, you're there to do a job. You have a goal, and you gotta be strong. So I say it's easy to be soft. We all want to be soft and nice and caring and lovely, but that's pretty much probably not the job description. Here you have to be tough. You have to be very tough, and that's kind of hard because it's not easy to be tough.
Right. What do you think of niceness versus weakness?
I mean, I agree. I agree to an extent. I do think always being nice. However, I do think, like, let's say somebody's not being that nice to you. You know, I still think you can. I'm very witty, so if somebody gives a little remark, I mean, in a very nice way, I'll politely say something, you know. But I always feel like whatever I say, like, I'll make sure like I can sleep at night, and you know, I don't ever want somebody to go, because I mean, it's a very big but small world. You know, I don't ever want somebody to say, oh, well, she's not nice. She's, you know, but I do agree, like, you do need to be strong, like, mentally and emotionally. Yeah. And there are going to be people that you don't vibe with and just you don't see the same, you know, you don't see eye to eye on things. And that's okay. That's human nature. Right. But yeah, I do think you do need to be nice. However, I think just don't be a pushover.
Yeah. Just knowing your boundaries as well.
Just don't be a pushover. But I do think, like, be nice. If somebody's not vibing, you can just kind of exit yourself a little bit, you know.
I'm learning a lot from this conversation, and I'll tell you how, because I feel like this is just, and I'm drawing some parallels here in my mind, you know, at least from what I'm hearing for you guys. I'm very impressed, because this modeling requires a lot of self-awareness and a lot of mental and physical strength, you know, and that's beauty. I mean, that's what you're hired for, is to represent, you know, in the most appealing way. And it seems that, and actually I'm hearing as well, is that both of you, in some ways, have been primed not just professionally, but outside too, because of the constant judgment. And you know, now you need to have thick skin, right? But then, and what I see is that you'll have women that are attractive that may not model, and I have noticed, and people notice, and you know, there's studies that the most insecure individuals, you know, happen to be very beautiful women, because they are only judged for their looks. You know, they're only seen for their looks. So it becomes very hard for them. Like, do you meet women that are attractive in other spaces and see that perhaps maybe there's like, wait, why are you upset about that? Like, you know, don't you expect it? You know, have you seen that? Maybe there's like not a bridge that has, you know, like there's a bridge for both of you, right? Because you experience it professionally and you know, in your day-to-day reality. Do you see women that like maybe that aren't in your space that you're like, whoa, calm down? You know, I'm very curious.
I do think it doesn't matter if you're a model or not model. I think at the end of the day, everybody is their own worst critic in every way, shape, or form. You know, whether it be with how you look or your career, or just anything. You just are always over analyzing yourself, and you could feel something about yourself, and everybody will look at you like, that's not true. You know, so I think that's important for everybody to realize you are your own worst critic. And just because you feel that way or feel like you look that way, act that way, whatever, that doesn't mean everybody else sees that.
100%. Yeah, it's like sometimes we think that other people are thinking this about us, but then actually they're thinking something else. So we're not self-aware enough to know what people think about us. And we have an idea. And so we go and actually ask people about it. They'll be like, no,
not true.
Yeah, that's not what we're reading from. Right, we're reading something else. And we're not aware of what is it that they're thinking about us. And it's just a complete disconnect.
Yeah, disconnect. Yeah.
There are a lot of assumptions that are made, you know, that I feel like, you know, but I mean, it's interesting to take a peek in. And you're right. I think that most people, as we are only talking about ourselves and thinking in our heads, right? There's that voice in your head where you're always thinking about, wait, what's happening now? It's like, you know, oh, you're taking a shower and like you could just be taking a shower. But then all of a sudden it's like, oh, did I do that? What do they think about it? You know? And I would say that we're self-centered, you know? And so it's always some degree of, and so it's good to be mindful of that. So I really love hearing about that.
Yeah, add a little anxiety to that. And it's
the perfect formula. Yeah, I mean, and anxiety is a thing. I mean, I feel like our society also, there's like an excess of information that is coming in. You know, there's so much information, so much shifting. You know, we're constantly moving and stuff like that. So is that something that as models, like, you know, is that kind of on cruise control, or how do you handle a busy life? Because that's busy.
Like anxiety?
Yeah.
I'm peace. I am peace all around. If
That's that way.
it's not peace, I don't want it in my life. Keep it away.
How did you transition into that? Because I would say that there are a lot of people listening that really would love those tools, to kind of like, because maybe they're suffering and maybe they have not been able to reach that. I'd be really curious to know
Tranquility.
Yeah. How did you, I mean, it seems that there's an evolution, right? Like, from day one modeling
Yeah.
and being, yourself and kind of learning all of these like different kinds of things that might have happened in your life and you learn from like experiences. Like for a young, like 17-year-old right now, what would you tell them about, how to kind of get there in terms of mindset?
That's a great question, actually. I think it's important for them just take a step back, breathe, everything will be fine. Just stay organized, just always stay calm. Everything always works out the way that it's supposed to. And just don't get too much in your head. I think the more that you think about it and overanalyze it and stress about it and everything, it's only going to make it worse versus just mentally just take a breather and calm down, and you'll find yourself having way more peace with everything in your life, in my opinion.
Yeah. Is there a specific circumstance that you can think of in your life where you were like, you know what, this is not worth it? How can I'm done overthinking this, or was this something that was like a mentality that was kind of shared with you and given to you when you were 12 as you first started it?
Man, that's a good question. I have to think about that one. I think honestly, like my parents just taught me at an early age, like try not to overstress everything and just be true to who you are and, don't get too much in your head or overanalyze. And, especially with the rejection, like it's okay having that. And, don't be anxious and everything works out the way that it's supposed to. That's one thing I've learned ever since I was a little kid, and just trust it.
So, what do you think, Ruth?
I think there was a book, The Art of Not Giving Up.
Yeah. Or honestly, the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins.
Yeah.
I just read it. It is phenomenal. Everybody needs to read that book because it does not matter what you're going through in your life. Everybody can relate it in some way, shape, or form and something in your life. And I use it on a day-to-day basis. The let them and let me, I need to read it.
I love that though. Like, when you read a book and it resonates with you and you're like, I'm thinking about my life in a whole nother way now. Like, you know what?
It's great.
It's peaceful, and I think that like, even with books and just certain thought forms and whatnot that we have, it's always good to continue to elevate yourself and to improve yourself. And I think that the mindset, that's highly important. And you both, I mean, you're in that space, and just based off of the way that you're talking, it's a growth mindset. You have to continue to have it. You're not just stuck in one mindset. You can change who you are. So did you have anything to add about
the book?
Yeah.
That's a good book.
Yeah, that's a good book.
So The Art of Not Giving Up. It just kind of when it comes to like the tranquility, right? So there is a peace of mind behind that, because if you're gonna think about what they're gonna think, they're gonna judge me, they're gonna do this, you're not gonna leave your house. Anxiety is gonna win you over. And most people are self-conscious about just like somebody's looking at you, what they're thinking. So just basically not caring sometimes is healthy.
Yeah.
Right. And so just be loyal to yourself, know who you are, and that you're not perfect, and just focus on your work. Focus on your work. And as long as you like what you see in the mirror, that's a good day.
That's a good day.
Yeah.
I love it. So let's talk about men and women.
Oh, boy.
Do men treat you differently? Do women treat you differently? Who treats you? This is true. Yeah. Who treats you better? Exactly.
In what aspect?
Yeah, I mean, many. I mean, like, I mean, that's clever. I like that. Generally speaking, and just from my own experience, women can be catty. PTO moms. Raising my kids. Maybe I was a younger mom, and I got married very young. And so when basically, like, I had kids very young, my kids were older, and then, I have them in these grades, a very young mom, and then all of these older moms who would leave me out because there's some form of judgment. It's like, oh, maybe she doesn't know, or she's just, who knows, or whatnot, or, they don't want you standing around next to their husband, like it happens.
Jealousy is real.
Yeah, it's real. And the thing is that, and I just wanted to hang out with them. I just wanted my kids to have friends, be friends with their kids. I wanted them to do play dates. That's it, and so either they will hate you just because of what you look like. There's nothing you can do to make them like you. There is nothing you can do. And, and in some ways it's like, then you just want, and you're not doing it for yourself. You just want your kids to be accepted. That's it. It's like, why would you ruin my child's friendship? Just let's be friends. Let's be cordial, and it's like, kind of like you're doing it for somebody else, right? You're not just doing it for yourself. Otherwise, it's like you're a young mom or whatnot, and you have to go to these like events. They don't want you standing next to their husband. They just don't, And it's like, okay, well, it's also trying to get with your husband anyway. But there is that. So I would love to hear about that. And I'm being transparent. I mean, I'm just saying it, but like, it's a fact. What do you think? Men, women, how they?
I would apply to let them theory on that one and just say, hey, if they don't.
Before you read that book.
Honestly, I think I'm very unfazed with people like that. Like for me, if you want to have a problem with me for whatever reason, like if you want to come talk to me about it, let's talk about it. Then we can solve it and we can then move on, or whatever path you want to go down. It's just, to me, it's just, if there's an issue, just come talk to me. It's a very easy solution, So I try not to, I don't know, if somebody's jealous for whatever reason, that's on them. That's not on me.
That's good.
So, I mean, it's just, again, I like peace.
Yeah.
I think if so couples like to hang out with couples, single people like to hang out with single people. And there's always going to be that jealousy in between a couple, right? So either the guy's going to be jealous of his girl if there's more guys, or vice versa. So I try to put myself in their shoes. Yes, I have been at an event with a boyfriend in the past, and my boyfriend has been giving attention to one of my girlfriends, and we all know how that feels. So we can relate to it. Jealousy is a real feeling, and we're human. So kind of relate to that. So if I were going to go to an event and I know there's going to be a lot of couples there, I most likely would direct my conversation to the female and not give a lot of attention to the male, because now I know the female is going to be more comfortable. Because the first thing you can think of is she's going to steal my man. That's just an animal instinct.
Yes.
I know this because I feel it when I have my hot boyfriend next to me, and I don't take him to events.
Stay home.
I don't. I dare not to, because I know that punch in the stomach does not feel good.
No, that's true.
So, so I kind of try to put myself in that shoes. I know what they're feeling, and they see us as a threat. But once they see the threat is not there, like if I will talk to the woman and be like, oh, this and this, just don't give attention to the male, and life is better that way in that situation.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's true. So that's in like kind of like relationships, right? That are kind of like romantic. What about relationships with women? Even maybe in the modeling world, like, I mean, is there jealousy that, oh, she got this gig, or, she has some sort of look, or she's killing it, but not just that. In friendships, sometimes it's like, everyone goes through an evolution when it comes to friendships. If you haven't let go of some friends in the past 20 years, maybe you need to do some cleaning, because sometimes we don't even know that somebody might be toxic for us. You think that they're happy for you, but are they truly happy for you? What do you think about relationships with other women in terms of friendship?
I think friendships, I mean, as long as you add value to each other's lives and you just are each other's cheerleader, I mean, even professionally, I can't even think of the last time I was ever jealous of a girl. If anything, I'm everybody's cheerleader. I want everybody to succeed and do well. And with friendships, if it's something that's toxic and just isn't good for me, and in all aspects, I get rid of it. And I have gotten rid of friendships that I didn't feel was beneficial for me. And, it doesn't mean that, I wish ill on them. I don't. Of course, I want them to do well. However, it's just, I want them to eat at a table and stuff, but I don't want them to eat at my table, because we just don't mesh well anymore. And that's fine. And doesn't mean I wish anybody ever bad, ever. It's just that we drifted apart, and that's fine. And people do that. That's sometimes human nature, unfortunately.
No, agreed.
I think female have a very interesting friendship and dynamic. I don't know what the famous movie Single White Female that she kills the roommates and take her life.
I never seen that.
That's
That sounds awful.
It sounds awful, but highly entertaining.
Yeah, you can be friends with someone that wants your life.
Yeah.
And sometimes we will have friends that will come and they'll try to, and the next thing you know, like, you're like, okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it gets a little creepy.
Yes,
again,
and I have had people that, girls that play my friends, and then later I see them with my ex-boyfriend. So I'm like, oh, they want the Ruth Diaz experience. Yes. And the only reason they're going out with him is because I dated them.
Yeah.
It happened to me once. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They got married.
Yeah. So is that Single White Female movie?
Yeah.
That the roommate kills the other roommate and takes over her life.
Yeah.
And she just becomes her.
Why do you think that is?
I mean, it's not everybody, but I have noticed with a lot of girls.
That.
We all, you guys have experienced. I have.
The part that when it happened to me and somebody got with somebody that I dated in the past, what was ironic about it was, that girl would always say, well, you have such awful taste in men. You have awful taste in men. And then it's like, what just happened here? So, I mean, honestly, good riddance on that one. Yeah. And, honestly, again, rejection is redirection, and it basically just unfolded where they're both not meant to be in my life. That's great. Celebi.
And we will pretend to be your friends. Like this specific case, she will take pictures of me when I was in the runway show, DM me, I send you pictures. She will play like she was my biggest fan. And then I see him in a picture with my ex-boyfriend. And the only reason she went out with him was because she wanted the Ruth Diaz experience. Like, otherwise, he will never date her, period.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the end of the day. Yeah. So, you have to be careful as a woman because, as a woman, like, oh, yes, but you have to kind of be a little bit careful. You can't just, like, be friends with everybody, right?
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people that, I feel like I'd rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies.
Yes.
I say that all the time. I love having a small circle. And, I mean, of course, like, if people want to be friends and stuff, of course, but I feel like it's good for me to always have a small circle that I really trust.
Yeah. And also not giving yourself up to everyone right away. Like, it's like layers of an onion. Yeah. It's like you learn to like, okay, you're here. Okay, let's check you out a little bit more. Oh, okay, I see that. All right, let's feel it a little bit. Yeah.
Slowly. And test people also.
Yeah.
Testing people every step of the way and testing their friendship level and seeing, what would they do in this case? And then, truly see if they're there because they want to be your friend. Also, do they celebrate if you're winning something? Are they celebrating you? Or are they, if you walk into the room, are they having a smile on the face when they see you? This is a good...
Micro expressions. Yeah,
micro expressions. Yeah.
No, it does.
Like you want to have people that when you walk into a room, their smile is there. Oh my God, I see her. Like that's, those are the true people.
It is.
Right?
Agreed. There's a trick. They say that, if you want to see if somebody likes you or not, truly, is that you go up behind them and then you like you're surprising them and be like, and tap them on the shoulder. And then you see that first expression. If it's like a dead one, like, or like, it's like, you're genuinely that exactly how they feel about you. And I think catching those like micro expressions are really like,
body language,
the art to, body language, reading people, I was just having a conversation with somebody last night is that they said that there was this, I think I saw something, FBI agents. Are you reading some book about?
Yeah, I just bought the book.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's specifically her. Maybe it was somebody else, but this woman was talking about, so she actually, FBI or CIA, I'm not sure what, but she reads body language. And basically she says that you have a 5-second edge over somebody because your body knows things first. It knows before your brain even knows.
Yep.
So if you recognize that, it's like, because it's like, you get nervous, your mouth goes
Trust
dry.
your gut feeling.
Yeah, your gut.
Sometimes you meet a person and you don't like them.
Yeah.
Like that, trust that gut feeling, because eventually you can give them a chance, but then they will prove you.
Yes.
So it's just like that gut feeling is always important. And, I have had friends that, oh my God, on paper, I should not be friends with them, but I have such a good feeling about them. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, they show me that they were truly my friends,
Yeah.
and vice versa too.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think that that's definitely, it's listening, and kind of, and intuition is a big thing too. I mean, being able to kind of understand people and see who's right for you and who, like you said, with the wins, seeing their micro expressions, understanding what the actions of what they do are, right? Like, are they going to call you? Are they going to want to, hang out with you?
Yes.
Are you the only one calling them? It's like, sometimes it's not like kind of an equal exchange. And I'm not saying that it always has to be an equal exchange.
Do they want your life?
Yes. Do they want your life? Exactly. Exactly. But I think that also it's like, every, like all of these, like, kind of like a lower vibration sort of like emotions, right? They're kind of rooted in fear. Right.
Yeah.
And
I had a friend, like she was like my true friend, and next thing I see, she does everything I'm doing the same copy.
Really?
Well, it's flattery, right?
I mean,
I don't know if it was flattering.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm like,
should be flattered by that. Yeah, just be like, that's nice.
Yo.
person, like, do you? But the later you have a podcast, and then you have a bestie, and next thing you know, she's like doing the same as you. You'll be like,
I mean,
see, I would be like, hey, let's co-host together.
Yeah. Like, what is the intention there? Like, why do
Yeah.
they want your life?
Yeah.
That's a little scary.
Well, I think that, if you're copying, like literally I have a certain like mug or whatever, and the next thing you know,
The same.
But not just that, then you're buying the same outfit like the next day,
Exactly.
or like you're okay. I could see that.
I mean, that would be a little scary.
Yes, but at the same time,
It's like that movie.
That's
yeah, it's an interesting movie.
It sounds scary.
Yeah. I mean, I can't watch scary movies. Like, I don't want the fear in my mind.
After that girl, like, she ended up dating my ex. I'm just paying more attention to people than I was like,
well,
great.
I think that there is an aspect of flattery there. But I think that anyone, like, we're listening to our intuition, it's like you need to also feel comfortable. Like, if something, and sometimes we don't even know it, right? We don't even know why we feel uneasy, or why. Sometimes you can't articulate why, but there is something, if you feel it and it's like, wait, why are you after me? Like, or is something like, what is there? There must be something. But I do believe that sometimes, even though, and I think that is very important for people to know, you feel a certain way, if something's not for you, it doesn't even need to be in your life. Yeah. If something pisses you off, or something that you don't feel like you feel comfortable about it, then I truly believe that maybe if it makes you feel uncomfortable, then why do you need to be exposing yourself to those situations?
Just remove if it feels wrong, remove yourself, and also know people agenda. Try to understand their agenda, because I feel when I meet people and I don't understand their agenda, I feel uncomfortable, because I don't know what is it that they want from me. Like, why are they approaching me? Why are they trying to build a relationship with me? So once I understand the agenda, and I always try to understand that right away, like what is your goal here?
Right.
Once I understand it, I'm like, okay, because they try to manipulate you into it, and I will be like, okay, what exactly do you want? Okay, I cannot give you that. Sorry, it's done. Okay, so you want that? No problem. Let's do it. We can work this around, and this is the relationship we have. But when they come and they try to manipulate you, like, oh, I got you a present, this and that, you're like, why? So I try to understand their agenda,
especially in a kind of like, and you're in like kind of like the event scene and whatnot. A lot of those relationships are very transactional sometimes.
100%.
And so, it's like, okay, if that's what you want anyway, because I understand this, I'm in this industry, if that's what you want anyway, why are you beating around the bush? Maybe just say it. Like, if you do need something. So I mean, I can see where that's coming from, especially if you have like a high volume of that happening all the time, where, you're promoting events and this and that, and somebody wants to come and that. And but then it's like, maybe you are somebody that does not have any of the same interests in me, and you're kind of being ambiguous about what you need. I mean, I can see how that could be unsettling,
Yeah.
So, but definitely with women, let's talk about men, and I think specifically when it comes to dating and relationships, like, I think that Do you find that men might be intimidated to approach you? Like, I mean, I hear a lot of times that with beautiful women, men have very extreme reactions. There's no in between reaction. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
I think it just depends on the man and the circumstance, the environment, everything. I think it just, and honestly, their confidence too, because I much rather have a man go up to me and, try to talk to me than, just stare at me from afar and be weird. I mean, I think everybody likes somebody who's confident, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think as long as they're confident and they go up and everything like that, I think that's fine.
What do you think?
I usually don't let people approach me on events because I'm just always working. So even if they will try to, they will not get my attention because I'm just so hyper focused on something specifically. So I guess I will not even notice if they're trying to get
In
an
your
attention
lifetime,
from me.
though. Well, I was saying in your lifetime. Say like, you went out outside of an event space and not anything like now, with what's happened to you. Do you find that, confidence is key, but it's very difficult to find confident men because they may feel intimidated by a beautiful woman.
They will definitely be intimidated by me. And if they will approach me and I happen to be busy,
It's like, forget it.
I like the assertiveness.
Yeah.
it will be mean because I'm literally trying to finish an email before a call. And I have 30 seconds to send it.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
before you forget, right?
can I help you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But outside of events, let's talk about like real life, I mean, like you go to the grocery store, or maybe you're at a friend's party, do you feel like, and I think that here's another thing. It's like one thing with attractive women, but what about attractive men? And this is what I hear about attractive men, like highly attractive men, is that they don't have to work that hard for
They're
women.
so lazy.
Yeah, they don't have to work that hard.
So lazy.
So
They want to be the girl.
Nowadays,
that's horrible.
because they get women constantly chasing after them that they don't have to try that hard.
They're the girls.
So then
of the
sometimes they
relationship,
also
period.
It's
just horrible.
No, it's not hard.
Fix them.
But it's not
so funny.
But there's a truth to it, right? There is a laziness to it. But the thing is that then they end up settling with maybe girls that maybe they weren't even that attracted to.
Yeah, because the only one's gonna put up with that.
Yeah,
the truth.
I mean,
they are very lazy. Like the better looking, the lazier they are.
Yeah. And maybe like
no effort.
Yeah.
The level of effort is just. I mean, they playing video games. That's what they.
Oh,
like.
that's that.
Oh, I don't even do video games.
No,
if there's I'm sorry.
But they do it.
It's such a hard no for me.
Yeah, no, agreed.
No.
I think that no, for sure.
Maybe a little Mario Kart once in a while, but no, we're not doing that all the time.
But it can't be your life. It can't be your life. Exactly.
See, I don't know a lot of people that have I feel like video games that do it often, or I don't know. I think
hopefully you have a job.
Yeah, exactly.
I weekend on a Sunday.
Trying to think of all the men in my life that are friends or that that I work with. Nobody has video games.
Yeah.
For some reason, the guys I know that I've dated, might have a type. They play video games. They're super attractive, and that's all they do.
Are they gamers?
They just play these video games for 8 hours straight.
Call of Duty?
Yeah. Guys like that, though. I mean, I have a son, so I understand that's the way they unusually, that's how they play the video games. But, you know how you've seen those TikTok, whatever, reels or whatever, anything. But you hear it's when you hear your brother yelling in the room, but he's playing video game. They're actually communicating with other people.
No, yeah, they are actually communicating with other people.
Yeah.
It's like their social life.
It's their social life.
So they are there just getting the dopamine high because they're playing video games, communicating with other people, and then they're just becoming very antisocial.
Right.
So they can't even meet girls.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
Speaking, exactly. I think that social interaction is hard, which is why sometimes I feel like when you meet a man that is confident, it's such a game changer. It's what? That's surprising. It's there's a certain confidence level that is nice. But getting back to attractive men.
But then he's a player.
There's that, right? So there's two things.
I've only dated one guy that did video games, and one and done for me. I never did it ever again. Just because it wasn't productive whatsoever.
Yeah. But how much is too much video games?
It's very addictive, I think.
I think it's addictive. I think if like, we have to go somewhere and, instead of you wanting to get ready and you're like, oh, let me do one last game or, I don't know. I feel like I was with the guy for 7 years and he, I think that's why I put up with it as much as I did. Just because, I kind of want to be like, well, we moved to a new city together and he wasn't working. He was playing video games.
It wasn't working? Okay.
I was working the 12-hour days.
So like here.
So stuff like that. It's like, you kind of want to feel like, okay, maybe that's just their way of,
No. But not if you don't have a job. If you don't have a job, then you shouldn't be sitting around playing video games.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly my point. I don't know. I just think even if you even if you do have a job, like in my head, I just don't understand video games. Like that's why I will not date a guy that plays video games. I just won't, because instead of playing video games, go to the gym.
Yeah.
Like work on your health.
Right.
Or go make a meal. Like
start a business.
Start a business. Or I don't know, go take your mom out to eat.
Yeah.
Go do something productive. Yeah. I don't know. No offense to men that do. I don't know. It's just that's my personal preference.
I think what you mean is like if you're addicted to it, right? If it's an addiction where you're spending more of your reality, just like literally imagine you're like 3 years old watching your parent just sit there like you don't even know what a TV is and just like clicking buttons into a screen, right? That's not a real way to live, Right. So I don't know, but that is an epidemic, I would say.
It's an epidemic, absolutely.
In terms of men. But like even in your modeling careers, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure that you have like, kind of like access or you're you're around male models, right? Is there a certain persona that they have to, because they're conventionally attractive, right? Is there a certain persona that maybe, not everybody, but the stereotype. Is there a certain stereotype about male models?
I would say that there is a stereotype about male models that they're not that smart.
Uh-huh.
And that's true.
That's so bad. I don't know if I'd agree with that. But I mean, that's a little mean.
I was like... But girls models are smart.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't know if I agree with that. But
it's a business at the end of the day.
There's not many male models. Mm-hmm. So if it's really like, I mean, it's a tough industry. It's really, he's not the smartest guy.
I mean,
he picked the wrong.
I mean, I do know male models that, I mean, I don't know a lot mainly in Chicago, but I do know a lot in Florida. And honestly, like they're, at least the ones that I know, like they are very smart. Mm-hmm. Like they do just model as, part-time thing from time to time. And then they do use that money to sometime create a business. Mm-hmm. Yep. Or something. I mean, like the ones that I know, I mean, they are smart. I don't know any. I haven't met any that.
But the stereotype is what I'm asking. Is that, stereotypically, like, and especially with like going back to the idea of attractive men, right? Who, they're not working. They don't have to work as hard to get women, right?
Yeah.
Is it like from a relationship standpoint of what you've seen? Kind of like, a male model's game, is it strong? Like what, are they also kind of, they not working hard? Like, exactly. So are they also not working hard when it comes to like pursuing women or, like, is it?
No, they're the girl basically.
I've never dated a male model. I have no idea. So I can't speak on this.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Interesting. But, but I think that especially in this like dating era, right, where there's a lot of like, obviously everybody's doing like online dating and whatnot, meeting on all these apps and whatnot, I mean, the aspect of like, what is it, that percentage of like, all of the very attractive men, they come into it thinking a very different mentality because maybe they're just looking to be casual, right? And so for their range of, and not to put numbers on anybody's, there's so much more to attractiveness outside of a person's physical beauty. We all know this. I mean, especially even in modeling, it's like, you could be pretty, but if your attitude is bad, then there's really no point, right? But I think that, just for the sake of just the analogy is that, if a guy is like a 9, right? And his mentality is coming into it being casual, right? And he maybe just wants to hook up with somebody, so he'll be okay with a 5 or a 6, right? And so he's not looking for the 9 woman that is on there, right? And so then what ends up happening is those women that are like, that 5 or 6 that got with the 9, they think then that they're at a 9 and now don't date anyone else, you know? Do you think that in terms of interpersonal relationships and beauty, you know, what do you guys think of like that kind of, or is it true? Is it not? I mean, I'm not on dating apps, you know, so but at least from what I'm hearing about like the trends in society, do you think that that's the case? Do you think something like that happens?
I don't know. I always say I'm in the wrong generation. I absolutely hate the dating apps. I'm not on a dating app. I hate OnlyFans. I wish there was no social media. I say let's get rid of all of it and let's just start going up to people like we used to and have conversations. If you say you're going to be on time or be here at this time. It's just nowadays it's so complicated than it should be.
No, agreed.
In my opinion.
It is complicated. But sometimes though also just very gently pushing back. Like, you know, sometimes I think that maybe now, as opposed to when I was growing up, there was no social media, nothing, no internet. Right?
It was nice, wasn't it?
It was definitely nice. But I also am now in touch with a lot of like old friends that I never would have ever kept in touch with had I not had some format, because there has to be a balance, right? You can't just be on it all the time.
That's like the only positive, though. Let's be for
yeah.
You know,
I mean, the world has gotten smaller, you know, and I know people that are on apps that might meet somebody across the country or across the globe, where before, like it was like a marriage was like a business transaction where it's like, okay, I will marry anybody that isn't like a square mile radius within a 4 mile square radius or whatever, because that's just what the access was, right? But then also then you hear about like people are always in that kind of like something better might come along, sort of, you know, it's like, oh, they're non-committal because it's like there's that aspect of you swipe and there's always somebody more attractive. There's always somebody, you know, do you see that sometimes?
Yeah, like definitely, like I think the patient is lower because you know that they're so easy to be replaced because there's so many out there and they're all available.
Yeah.
And I think with the dating app, it gives you information. It tells you like what they're looking for, something casual, marriage, or long-term relationship. So you can swipe of exactly what you're looking for, the age range and the zip code that they're in. And there's a lot of options out there. There's
people looking?
a lot of very good-looking guys that are really looking for marriage.
Are they? I'm curious about that because I always hear the opposite.
Many.
So how do you find?
But some of them lie and some of them don't. So I'll say that never swipe the one that's casual because what's the point on that? You already know it.
Well, you have to give it to them for being honest.
I
know you don't want it, but I'm saying at least I think there's a lot of, you know, people nowadays that just aren't honest about what they want.
Right.
You know, like you can meet a guy, you know, I mean, I've experienced it where somebody, you know, right off the bat, they say, you know, yeah, I mean, I'm dating to marry. And then a year and a half, 2 years down the road, oh, I don't want that.
Yes.
Okay. But at least this guy, I give props to people saying it's honest, you know, versus wasting somebody's time, you know.
I mean,
let's put it simple. Guys will never believe what a guy says, period. Especially before sex, right? So let's not sugarcoat. They will say, they will promise you the world, and then later they'll say, I said that?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just because the brain is not active and this is just their nature. Like there's before sex and then after sex. I'm sorry.
Right.
That's just what it is. So you have the power before and they will promise you absolutely everything. And the things that people have promised me, I cannot even believe it. But then later you're like, okay, you know that you cannot believe on nothing they're saying. So actions speak louder. So you really have to collect data.
Yeah, honestly, like I always say, I much rather somebody hurt me with the truth because they'll hurt me more with a lie. So I much rather somebody tell me right off the bat, like I'm looking for something casual versus somebody telling me I'm dating to marry and waste my time for a year and a half to 2 years, you know? And I mean, that's just my personal opinion on it. I think honesty is always the best because, you know, nobody has time to waste. Don't waste somebody's time, you know, because time is very valuable. So I think, you know, I would have, you know, more respect for somebody if somebody said, you know what, I did some things I shouldn't have done in my past relationship. That's why it ended, you know, and then you can evaluate, okay, do I want to give this person a chance? Do I not? You know, versus, you know, somebody lying saying, oh, yeah, it didn't work out because they wanted to get married and have kids and I didn't.
Right.
You know, it's just, be honest.
No,
You know?
absolutely. But I think that also marriage in itself is you can't hide, you know? I mean, if you want to have a successful relationship of many years and you're, you know, raising a family and stuff like that, how much can you lie? You know, I mean, like there's no room for non-transparency.
Right.
Yeah, truth comes out.
Yeah, it's gonna come out.
But
Exactly.
I think like it's also like, yes, you have those amazing guys that do want a relationship, they do want the marriage, and they want to do serious, but then they have unrealistic expectations for a woman.
Like what
Well,
is
like what?
yeah,
Like
I'm
if you are, your job implies like communicating with other males
Mhm.
because that's your job.
Mhm.
Oh.
Well, the jealousy is to the roof.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, even if you find a perfect guy, you know, like you have to be a homestay mom for them to feel comfortable because they
Mhm.
are so afraid of losing you, or
Uh,
and they're insecure, but they won't tell you, so they'll manipulate.
mhm. I
So it's
feel
a little tough.
no,
Yeah.
it is. And but I feel like jealousy is definitely some is natural in a relationship. Obviously, you love that person and you know, you don't want to see them with someone else, right? But to the point where you're changing that person's lifestyle, then that becomes kind of like you're
Toxic, yeah.
controlled, right?
Guys are controllers for 100%, especially the more they invest in you, the
Mhm.
more they want to have control over you.
Mm.
And to a point that if they see something on social media, they'll flip out,
Mhm.
then back up. So it's a struggle
Right.
because yes, you need to be a woman in business.
Mhm.
You need to make money moves.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then you have to put boundaries with people, with your clients, and then you have to keep a relationship, and they're insecure to begin with, and so it's kind of like a struggle to be a woman because the expectation a male has for us
Mhm.
in a relationship
Mhm.
are just not realistic.
Yeah. Do you find that maybe it's the type of guy as well? Because sometimes I think that specifically with men that are confident that, you know that maybe I can, like another one will come along, you know, like maybe they know what their worth is, right? And also what you're talking about, like investing in a woman, right? It's like, you know, they'll say whatever they want to you. And then once you have sex, then it's like, okay, whatever, bye, you know. But like, do you think that, you know, men that are putting in a lot of effort, you know, then the relationship kind of changes where it's like, you know, I don't know. I'm just kind of like, it's a level of confidence because not every man might be like that, right? And to you, like, how do you weed out, like, what is the kind of man that is worth, you know, having him invest time in you? Because also at the end of the time, you're also investing time in him. You know, how do you weed that out?
I mean, honestly, I feel like, you know, what I'm attracted to is I'm attracted to like a high value man that is very busy,
Mhm.
that has a lot going on, because I have a lot going on.
Right.
I personally don't think relationships are as hard as we make them nowadays.
Mhm.
Like, as long as you communicate and what you want and you respect each other and you just understand and respect just what the other person has going on in their life and what you have going on in your life, you can combine them,
Mhm.
but that takes communication effort
Mhm.
and just, you know, work from both parties.
Agreed.
It's really not that hard. It's not very complex
Mhm.
nowadays.
Mhm.
And, you know, it just takes overall just respect, loyalty, and, you know, I don't see why it's so complicated nowadays.
I would love if there's any, you know, just like kind of like the like, you know, final words. Because I mean, as much as I have loved having this conversation. Has been really interesting. Any like takeaways from basically just life in general, mindset that you might need to have, navigating a world. I mean, I think the key takeaway and from what I'm hearing of this conversation is be well rounded. You know, be well rounded, respect yourself, learn about everything, you know, and I'd love for you guys to chime in and you know, let me know what you guys think in terms of you know, advice that you could give any young woman out there, that, and even men or anybody that's facing any kind of judgment, you know, take it away.
So when it comes to judgment in general, I'll say only listen to people that are doing exactly what you want to do. And everybody else is a noise, and block it, because information is very powerful. If you hear something and the information is wrong and you believe it, that's a very high price. So you have to just surrounding yourself with people you want to be like, period. If they're toxic, cut them off.
Mhm.
If they're not doing exactly what you want to be doing, like don't surround yourself with them because you become what you hang out with, period. So if you are the average salary of your 5 best friends, added salary. So this is the truth. And it comes with the mindset. If you talk to a millionaire or if you talk to somebody very successful and that just comes into your head. And then listen to a lot of motivational talks and these podcasts about very successful people. So you're supposed to be listening only to successful people, period. Everybody else is a waste of time. Please do not put that information in your head, period. That's my best advice.
I love that. That's good. I love it.
I would say just stay true to who you are and just keep growing. And like she said, surround yourself with really good people who are going to help you thrive and just grow in general. And especially with the rejection, I would say, you know what? I've been saying, rejection is a redirection. If you get rejected, that means it's not for you. Something else will come along better. And, detach your value from the outcome. So if something doesn't work out the way that you want, that's fine. That doesn't mean you have lower value and you shouldn't see yourself less than what you are. So just stay very strong and just continue to grow and build and, don't ever try to think or be somebody that you're not.
I'd love for you guys to let us know where you can be reached and, and all of that fun stuff.
I don't model as much anymore. I still do from time to time, but you can reach me at my Instagram. It's at Heidi Fahrenbach. I'm an event director for an exotic car rally. We have been around for over 20 years. We've done over 40 events. We do, probably 4 or 5 events through the United States and 1 in Europe every year. So if you do have an exotic car and you want to join us, or if you want to rent one for the week or weekend for one of our events, you can join us. You can contact me at my Instagram or at Corsa Rally. And if you also, since it kind of goes hand in hand, I'm also a luxury travel advisor. So if you ever want to take a nice trip somewhere, just your flights or have a group booking, at Royal Vacanza or my personal Instagram. So
yay. Awesome.
So my personal Instagram is Ruth Diaz TV. The agency I work with, my mother agency is Lily's Talent. So just contact Oliver basically. For the business side, Gold Coast Private Club. So to become a member, just go to goldcoastprivateclub.com. Subscribe. We check references. We check everything to make sure you're accepted. And then we can start kind of working with them according to what they need, because we have events, we do CRM, which is sales supports, we do PR for social media, for other aspects. We do matchmaking for business or personal needs. Okay. So there's a lot. And some people come in because they want to host an event. Some people want to go to an event. Influencers. So depending on what they need, we can personalize that and just kind of direct them to be successful in that area.
I love that. That's actually a really great description. And sounds like a lot of fun. So It's really good. It's really good. All right, amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. I have definitely enjoyed this talk, and I would hope that you guys can come back again and talk about more of the stuff that we have.
No drama.
Amazing.